It's a mystery. It's clue. It's death. No, it's the invisible hours. Ranked as some reviewers have called the best VR game of the year, I don't know. I'm pretty I'm pretty late when it comes to VR, but to be honest, I'm pretty impressed with it. So, today we're talking about, as said, The Invisible Hours. This is a physical exclusive title to GameStop. But of course, it's available digitally for PC and PS4. It is made by the people who made the Sexy Brutal. And honestly, it shows in the game itself, as it's essentially a more realistic Clue-style, Sexy Brutal style game, except you're not an actual killer, you're more of a viewer. But many of the similar mechanics, having time, being able to go through the events, and trying to ultimately find out what's going on, are pretty much similar. And there are many things to find, including an Easter egg to the Sexy Brutal in the game. However, I have to say the game feels vastly inferior when compared to the Sexy Brutal. There are much more better mysteries and the overarching plot, while The Invisible Hours just kind of dies on a dead note. But, essentially, let's go into it. So, you as the player don't play an actual character, you're merely a spectator. Whether you want to consider yourself a ghost or literally a viewer is up to your interpretation, as the game literally tells you nothing about yourself aside from saying that the events are not fiction and you are a viewer or something like that when you start the game. Because you do go to a balcony when you start the game in a theater. So, I would say it's trying to say you're a viewer, but I mean, it doesn't really go into detail. You're just watching these events, regardless of whether you're an actual viewer or ghost of that. You partake as no role in the storyline. But similar to the Sexy Brutal, you can go through the time of these events. Now, in the beginning, you're limited because you need to go through the timeline one time. But once you go through the timeline one time, you can start in many different locations, and it, similar to the Sexy Brutal's map, it will plot where you've seen people. So, if you follow people where they go on each of the chapters, you can see them on the map as you swap the time around and see where they go in that. But unlike the Sexy Brutal, you're really trying to solve one ultimate murder. While multiple people do get killed in the Invisible Hour, your overarching goal is to solve the main murder that happens at the beginning of the game, while in the Sexy Brutal, you're trying to save everyone.
The evidence seems to suggest otherwise.
Hell, there's even events you may not even realize that may happen. But I'll get to those when we get to spoiler stuff. There are secrets to find. You can examine many of the items, but you don't have a cursor on your screen. So you to examine the item, you have to be so close to it and have the headset looking at the right way. And some of the really small items can be really hard to fucking examine because you have no cursor to go off of. You have to just try and hope you center it right, or get it in the angle the game wants you to have it at. But there are a lot of items to examine, a few little secrets and Easter egg things to find, and overall just see what happens over the course of the game from every character's perspective. But overall, the game is merely just watching it. While you can interact with objects to examine them and sometimes read some notes, many of the items don't do anything and you don't actually cause anything. Events continue to play. It's not like, hey, I found a clue. Maybe if I move it here, the main detective guy will find it and lead him. You're just literally watching events play out. You don't have any interactiveness with anything going on in the context of the story At most, you're collecting notes and clues and collectibles that get checklisted for trophies and things.
Miss, believe
I
this
enjoyed
is
the
you.
title, but I honestly can't really recommend it compared to the Sexy Brutal. The Sexy Brutal does all the elements this game has vastly better, just not in VR. It has a much more charming art style to it too, because the Invisible Hours is clearly trying to do a much more realistic Clue style kind of thing,
I believe
being a VR game. And sadly, while there are some nice VR stuff that looks really good, from what I've played, generally more cartoony and art style-y games look so much better in VR, at least on the PlayStation 4. I'm sure you can get much better looking graphics probably on the PC version of this game, but I find a lot of the games that are trying to pull off a lot of realism in the VR, at least on the PlayStation, seem to have the issue of very much lower quality textures and blurry. This and Summer Lessons both look slightly blurry. Now, I hold these issues aren't as prominent on a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I have an original PlayStation, so. But it does have the same issue as the Summer Lesson, where the further away things are from you, it looks blurrier and less polished. And I seem to notice that more in realistical looking games. So I think an artistic style and non-realistic cartoony characters look, at least on the PlayStation 4, look way better in the VR. But it was okay. It wasn't the worst case scenario. It wasn't like it was unplayable, but since you are exploring a mansion on an island, you do get a lot of points where you see a lot of things far away, and yeah. The cast and characters, you start the game on a pier as Gustav, a detective, arrives at the island, and as he approaches the mansion, as he was invited to it, he sees a crying lady outside, and they go to the mansion, find the owner of the mansion is dead, and quickly the mystery of trying to figure out who done it and what happened quickly escalates. But as somebody who's just viewing the mystery, all you can do is choose people you want to follow or see what they do. From the detective to any of the local people there. Gustav, obviously, being a detective, goes to investigate all the people, the motives of being there, and why they may want to do it. And a few other events happen, but depending on where you are in the mansion, there are some events you may never really see unless you actually go there. I mean, I solved the mystery. Basically, I went through the game once, from beginning to end, following who I wanted to, and I decided to go to a certain point near the end of the game and follow a different character. And that following that character led to the ultimate mystery of what happened and who done it. And everyone else didn't really matter, though I did go to examine other characters' motives, because there are several strange events that happen with the different characters' interactions that make you wonder what certain characters are doing, but ultimately they're not a bigger picture. They're just side stuff you can examine. The trophy list is mainly made up of the secrets, clues, and watching all the different events and discovering usually a unique event related to each character and the ultimate mystery of what's going on. Overall, definitely just recommend the Sexy Brutal. If you have VR on PC or PS4, and you see this for okay price, I got it on sale for $14 at GameStop. For my version, I'm sure with PC you'll probably be able to get on steep discounts during the PC sales seasons. But overall, I'd say probably not more than $10. Honestly, the Sexy Brutal is vastly a better and more enjoyable game in my opinion. But anyway, from here, we're going to go into spoiler territory. So if you want to know my opinions on the story net, feel free to keep watching, and if not, thank you for watching this video. So, 3, 2, 1, here we go. So the story. I thought the story was pretty much a cop-out. I followed Gustav through the Italian forced playthrough of the game. Because, you know, he was a detective. So obviously, unless some weird circumstances happened, it made sense to follow the detective to get all the info he was going to ask everyone to, you know, evaluate everyone, see what happens. Once it got to the end part, and he asked the lady to go get the gun, then he goes and accuses Edison of all the murdering, and chases after Edison and all that, and then he gets tackled by the butler off the cliff. I thought was, what happened to her? I didn't immediately suspect her to be the murderer, but I was curious, where did she end up? Because, you know, she left and fell off the face of the planet from now. So I decided to go back to that point in time, and I followed her. Well, she went down the secret passage, opened the door, and gave the gun to the butler, which led to the true evidence. I was suspicious of it, but I didn't see anything proving it yet until that point, that the butler is obviously not blind, as he tells you at the beginning of the game. So I followed her, and she goes to this strange device and gets thrown back to an extra chapter before the first chapter, where she commits the murder. And I was just like, really? Just, I mean, there's a lot of weird plot holes for the fact, like, the victim basically says he won't help her because it would change the fate of other people, but changing these people's fates wouldn't hurt anyone, which I think is just a bunch of bollocks. I mean, I'm a very believer in the, you know, for there to be a winner, there has to be a loser. And I mean, different, like Edison, for example. He brought all these people to the island to undo their mistakes. But, like, if, let's say, okay, so the story is saying Edison steals all his inventions and shit. Let's say Edison did something with one of those stolen inventions and actually did some good with it. Saved a family or something for that invention because of how he introduced to that. And then you go change that. Maybe that family didn't get that courtesy or something because maybe they live in the town Edison lives in, because they live in the same town that medical research or something became really available there, as opposed to, like, say, whoever he stole it from got to do it, and it was, like, on the other side of the country, and it didn't get to them soon enough to save someone. I mean, like, the honest idea that it won't affect anyone seems like a lot of bullshit. And another plot hole is, as far as I can tell, I haven't literally unlocked everything. I haven't seen literally everything, but I've seen it good enough, in my opinion. But as far as I can tell, after Chapter 0 ends, the duplicate of the chick from the beginning of the game is gone. She's nowhere to be found. I've looked. I went from where Chapter 0 ends with her and explored all over the place in Chapter 1 from there, and I can't find her in existence, and that's kind of inconsistent with the fact of following where these people are going from chapter to chapter and shit. And then, like, most of the people do die. Gustav gets, potentially maybe killed. The one guy who committed murder gets killed. The singer gets injured. Obviously, the original murder victim got killed. The young man got killed. Like, a lot of people get killed, but you probably, like, I would have missed the murderer getting killed. Because, like, him and the actress's plot point don't really affect the main murder mystery much. I literally just, like, you know, they're kind of, like, non-existent during the end of the game. Where are they? And, like, during the course of the game, he's trying to, like, have this relationship with this girl because he's clearly having a crush on her. And then he finds out that she's actually his daughter who had all kinds of surgery and changed her name and accent and everything. And, at the beginning of the game, you find out he doesn't have a very loving relationship with his daughter. So he goes to try and murder her. He gets murdered. And the whole thing, probably the thing I was curious the most after solving the main mystery was the butler. Because obviously I got to see that the butler was not blind. And what happened to the second murder victim, the young man? You can go find out what happened to him very easily by just stalking around the hidden passage on the chapter where he gets murdered and find out that it was indeed Thomas Edison actually did commit the murder as Gustav predicted, but obviously he didn't do the first murder, he just did the second murder. The butler is an actual butler, but apparently, from what I understand, he lied that he's blind so he could get out of his country and not be a slave in his country and at least have more human dignity in the mansion. And he faked being blind to get that. But he isn't blind, and he gets mad that the owner of the mansion didn't leave him anything as he finds his will, and he gets pissed off about that. But for some reason near the end, he randomly thinks Gustav is the murderer or something. And he pushes him off the cliff, not even trying to understand what's going on between him and Edison, and it's just, I don't know, I just thought the whole, I know I was kind of disappointed with the end of the Sexy Brutale. I liked it all the way until the end. The end just was kind of odd for it, but I still agree that the Sexy Brutale overall is a vastly better game than this, even though they have so many things in common. But it's not a absolutely terrible game. It just, in the Sexy Brutale, you input things. You're trying to save people and do things to save these people. This game, you're just watching things and trying to find what's going on. And, ultimately, you can just because you can set the game to follow someone. Instead of doing all your own controlling, you can just literally decide to follow someone and, just start the beginning of the chapter and follow each character to find out everything of that. I mean, it's not a hard premise. I mean, hell, you don't even have to be watching it. You could just start the chapter, pick the character you want to follow, and then just sit down, go do whatever, and come back. As most, a good chunk of the trophies are, seeing all these scenes or sawing scenes. So, I mean, you could just get tons of trophies that way. Or achievements or whatever, It just doesn't have a lot of player input. I think it's probably its biggest weakness, in my opinion. I mean, as much as I criticize the story, I don't hate the game. I just would say this is like a $10 little fun ride to mess around and see the different things you can find in that. And then if you want 100% trophies in that, you can always do that. Not most of them are simple, and only a few of them require you to go find stuff that I'm sure you could find a video or guide if you were interested in that kind of thing. So the replay value is just basically, do you care about collectibles and trophies? If not, then, well, you solved the case. Throw it away or trade it in or set it on your shelf of your collection, whatever you do at the end of the day. But, yeah, this to me is like a $10 experience. It's not terrible. It had a few interesting ideas. I would have liked to be able to move normally than teleport, but different games are trying different things. I would like to have, I think when it comes to VR games, it's best to have these options, because you have different people who have different cuts, different people who can withstand the different kinds of movement. I think it's good to have normal movement, teleporting movement, the slight nudging movement. I think that's a good idea to have all of those for different people that can handle them. This game mainly focuses on nudging and teleporting, so you don't have any normal kind of movement. Probably the only other minor thing that really bothered me was when you actually follow anyone, for some reason, instead of actually following, as in behind them, Instead, it's more like Keldor walks up to you, pushes you backwards to a new teleport node, and walk towards you. And I don't know, that just seemed like an odd choice. I mean, I could understand they wanting you to have perspectives of events, which some of those are good, but a lot of times when you're just, they're walking from one place to another, they're just walking towards where you are, bump, you teleport backwards, bump, you teleport back, and I just thought that was an odd way to follow the Keldors. But those are my thoughts on the Invisible Owl overall. If you have any questions or anything, please leave a comment down below, and I hope you learned something new. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and if you didn't, feel free to leave a dislike. Till next time, thank you for watching, and I hope everyone had a good Christmas and has a good New Year's.
私の作った